Spanish is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. There are over 20 Spanish-speaking countries and almost 500 million native Spanish speakers worldwide, so you're gonna come in contact with people that speak every which way. And that's why you gotta be prepared and learn all of them. Psych, I don't know if anybody has time for that, but it could be interesting to just learn one of them, which is what we're gonna talk about today here at Jive World. Hi there friends, my name is Elise if you're new to the channel, and today I'm going to walk you through the most prominent Spanish dialects, not all of them because there are quite a few, and just talk about what they sound like, their features, and their relative difficulty. And I say relative because what's easy for you or hard for you might not be for someone else, and vice versa. But first we got to talk about the why and maybe the why nots of speaking a specific dialect. You know, they don't want to get bogged down in one corner of the Spanish speaking world. They want to understand and be understood by everyone. You know, also for travel purposes, like, I get it, you know. But guys, in my case, I was the opposite. So I've spoken Spanish for just under 10 years, and for the last 4 of those years, I've focused exclusively and spoken pretty much exclusively Mexican Spanish. I won't do a whole spiel on all my personal reasons and my journey going from, you know, just Spanish to Mexican Spanish, but instead, let's talk about some reasons why you might consider doing this at all for any dialect of Spanish. Now, first of all, a huge advantage to zeroing in on one dialect of Spanish is that it kind of drowns out all the extra noise. Because there are so many Spanish-speaking countries, the act of learning Spanish can be really overwhelming because you come into contact with like so many different ways to say things sometimes. Like for example, the word jacket in Spanish in general is chaqueta. That's a word that's used in a lot of countries, but there's also, you know, more specific regional words like chamarra or campera, God knows what else. Like in my experience, if my brain can match one idea or one concept to just one word, thereafter makes it easier to grow my vocabulary because I'm, you know, not storing excess information. I'm committing to one way to say something instead of, you know, 5, 10, 15. It just, you know, drowns out all that extra noise. Now, another reason you might learn a dialect is that you can get closer to a certain culture or community that speaks that dialect. Now, when you learn any language, it's virtually impossible to learn just the language. You have to kind of passively absorb the culture as well. So if you focus on one country or one region while you're doing that, it just makes the whole process like 10 times more enriching. Like for example, in focusing on Mexican Spanish, from their idioms and expressions, I have passively just learned so much about Mexican society and Mexican history. Like through the expression, ya te cargó el payaso, which literally means the clown already picked you up. Essentially, it just means something like you're screwed. I learned that they say that because it dates back to rodeo culture, where the clowns, you know, they come and pick up the cowboys after the bull has messed them up to like the point of no return. So if the clown is coming to pick you up, you're in bad shape. Mexicans also have a lot of food-centered expressions, like for example, parir chayotes, literally to give birth to a chayote, and a chayote is like a prickly pear. That expression means to do something really difficult, so you can kind of see the connection there. I would have never known what a chayote is if it wasn't for Mexican Spanish, so yeah, that's all thanks to studying just one country. Alright, now that we've discussed the why, let's actually go through and explore these most prominent dialects, and make sure to leave us a comment down below letting us know which one is your favorite by the end of the video. Also guys, just a reminder that on the Jive World app, you can sort all of our stories by country, so if when you're done with this video you want to go try out studying a specific dialect, we have just the thing for you. So go ahead to the app after this video. I'll be waiting. So first of all, since I was just talking about Mexican Spanish, why not discuss it a bit more in depth? First of all, Mexican Spanish cannot form a single sentence, fun fact, without using the word pedo, which means fart. ¿Qué pedo? No hay pedo. Eso es otro pedo. Está pedo. Despite its colorful and sometimes cryptic expressions, Mexican Spanish is often said by learners to be one of the easiest to understand. They generally pronounce their words very fully and clearly, but this does depend on the region. But let's go ahead and listen to what Mexican Spanish actually sounds like. Here's an excerpt from one of our stories.
Estaba sentado chambeando justo en un episodio de Radioambulante y lo primero que sentí fue un golpe como de arriba hacia abajo. Pensé que era un camión de la basura que siempre que pasa hace que se mueva un poco el suelo. Me paré y en cuestión de unos segundos me di cuenta que no era eso.
Now, Mexican Spanish has a lot going on. They have a lot of words influenced by the over 60 indigenous languages in the country. You know, words like tianguis, apapachar, things like that. They also use a lot of English words depending on the region, especially, you know, this is closer to the border. They'll say things like troca instead of camioneta for truck. Some regions will say rumi for roommate instead of compañero de cuarto. So yeah, if you're crushing on a Mexican or if you love Mexican food and want to learn recipes in Spanish, this is the dialect for you. Now, we've talked about one of the easiest Spanish dialects to learn, but what about one of the hardest? This one is notorious for tripping up Spanish learners, and it's Caribbean Spanish, which actually includes 3 different countries, which are Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Let's listen to some snippets from each country.
Los padres los botaban de su casa por cómo eran, por la vida que llevaban, y andaban en la calle pasando hambre, sin ropa, sin atención, sin nada.
Llamé a unos cuantos tíos míos y prima y fueron a mi casa. En el patio de mi casa hicimos una reunión cortoreal y ahí fue que hablamos con él. Lo siento como tan aburrido, como que siento como, ay Dios mío, qué porquería. Esto aquí como que, no sé, siento como estos juegos bien bobos.
So you hear it between all of them, right? You know, the way they kind of eat their words, they'll drop the S's, it just has a certain flavor to it, you know? And Caribbean Spanish has been brought to the forefront much more recently because of popular music. For example, Bad Bunny's songs. He's Puerto Rican, and suddenly when his songs come on, everybody talks like a Puerto Rican, including me. So good. Make sure to follow us on Instagram because we do videos on specific Spanish dialects all the time, and we recently did one on the Puerto Rican dialect, actually. So if you want to travel to the Caribbean, or even, let's be real, Miami, and blend in perfectly, then Caribbean Spanish is perfect for you. Since we're talking about Spanish on hard mode, we gotta go ahead and discuss the Argentinian dialect as well. We recently just did an entire video just on Argentinian Spanish, so if you want to go watch that after this, I will leave the link for you down in the description. Okay, now let's listen to a bit of Argentinian Spanish together.
Fue el único que le dije, ¿sabe un amigo que hacía 20 años que no lo veía? Y le dije, vení, voy a hacer esto de contagiar el bien y lograr un resultado al barrio donde él vive y donde yo nací. Era como un pueblito.
There is so much to pick apart here, but I think your biggest takeaways should be the way that they pronounce the double L, like sh, and their usage of the pronoun vos to mean you, instead of the regular tú. You know, vos, in some countries it's used in parallel with tú, in some countries it's used instead of tú. Uruguay does the same thing as well. If you're able to master Argentinian Spanish, you like won Spanish or something. I don't know, I have mad respect for you. And last on our list, let's talk about a Spanish-speaking country that has a lot to offer, Colombia. Colombia is also a country that Spanish learners report is generally easy to understand, but that doesn't mean they don't have a lot going on. So let's listen together.
Entonces, bueno, cuando llegamos a Itacaré, se estacionó enfrente de la posada, Eduardo estaba ahí en la mesa, entonces salió, se puso enfrente de mí, yo le dije, qué locura, pero aquí estoy.
Y le digo, no te lo puedo creer, le dije yo, la verdad que bueno que hayas venido, y bueno, después.
And here you can actually hear the Colombian accent compared with the Argentinian accent. The first speaker, the Colombian, he speaks super kind of nasally and he blends his words together a lot, like le dije instead of le dije, which is actually super characteristic to the city of Bogota. And the thing about Colombia and a lot of other Spanish-speaking countries as well is that there's a lot of accents and dialects within the country, and Bogota is just one. There's also the Paisa accent of Antioquia, which sounds like this.
Chimba, ¿qué significa chimba?
Chimba es muchas cosas, chimba es todo. Puede ser lo mejor o lo peor. Por ejemplo, una chimbita es una vieja muy mamacita.
Ah.
Que chimba es algo muy bacano. O, uy, no, la chimba es como que gonorrea.
So if you want to get really specific with accents and dialects, like down to the city, down to the minute region, Colombia might be a really fun place to start. And there you have it, folks, some of the most prominent Spanish dialects in a nutshell. But now I have one question for you. Would you ever consider learning one Spanish dialect? If so, let us know down in the comments if it's one of these that I've mentioned or another dialect. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share the video with someone you think might like this topic. Happy listening, happy dialect learning, and stay Java fluent. See ya.